So here's this guy, and he's gotta be wondering how he got here. This guy, of course, has a name, Chris Baldwin. 1 second earlier, he thought Michigan had a big win over rival Michigan State. 1 second later, he was the most famous fan, here you go, Nora, in America. They call it the Surrender Cobra. But here's what I really love about this. This isn't about Michigan. This is about all of us. Why do we, as big fans, keep doing this, even with moments like that happen? And is there still hope? You know what this is? Yeah? Oh, yeah. Can I interest you in something? You know this? No? No. This is an incredible scene here. The Surrender Cobra is how we get into the show. Welcome back to Real Deal. I've been waiting to do this moment a long time, too. I say that at the start of every show, but I love this. I love this so much. And this is not to say gotcha on a fan. This young man, Chris Baldwin, was a Michigan student, Michigan fan at the time, and he became the most famous fan in America. In a good way, but not for a good reason. People loved his reaction. I love his reaction. He's been effusive talking about it in the decade since, which is great. I mean, he has become a viral sensation, and I hope it's been all good for him, and I hope it continues to be all good for him, because this October 17th, 2015, this is the last 10 seconds of Michigan State. All right. Every fan of any team, put your team in there. They're up. They're about to close out the game. In this case, they're punting. And now we get delivered the famous line, trouble with the snap, right? And that's what we have here. And Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson scooping up this ball. And what he had to do to get into the end zone, and how this game ends with a trouble with the snap, fumble recovery. It's everything a sports fan goes through, and this is outsized, 100 times a season. And in this one moment, Chris Baldwin gave us a look. I'm crediting him with the Surrender Cobra. Others may have done it before, but this was an all-time great. As I continue to do it here, I have this image in my phone. I've had it since the day it happened. 11 years of Chris Baldwin with hands on his head, and you're giving yourself. These are ribs on a cobra, by the way. You know, the part of the ear flap. Do you know that? They're ribs of some kind. And giving us a look that we all know. Today's episode is about big fans, of which we all are. We're two big fans of sports who wrote the book on being a big fan. They wrote Big Fan. Mike Schur and Joe Posnanski are our guests today. I'm so excited to talk to these guys. I admire these guys from a professional standpoint. Joe as a sports writer, which you all know me as someone who is, I'm not a sports writer, but I'm adjacent in my whole life to sports journalism and writers from Around the Horn and, of course, PTI. I have loved reading Joe Posnanski for my entire career in television. But even before that, I found him even before I was on ESPN. He was writing in Kansas City at the time. And Mike Schur, who is one of the most brilliant writers in America in popular culture. The Office, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Good Place. It goes on and on. He's written multiple books. Let's make sure we do this officially here, because I do want to appreciate it. But the book today is Big Fan. 82,490 miles. Mike and Joe traveled together in some sort of way to find what is at the core of each sports fan. And this is through many sports, as we will learn, darts, and through outside of sports, Taylor Swift and WWE. They went all over the place for this. And I would love to ask them about the fans they met, and also about fans who have surrendered in Cobra form. I think that's how what is the deal we make with ourselves as we become big fans, right? And this is an emotional thing for me. I have evolved as a fan in my life. I was a crazy fan in my youth, crying when the team loses, to now I still love sports, but I love it in a different way. And maybe they're going to help me unpack that along the way. But let's say hello to our guests. Let's make it real. Well, I appreciate you doing this. You guys literally wrote the book on this. I am I heard your voices I didn't read the book. I heard your voices. I listened to the book. Does that count? Is that all right?
100%. Yeah.
I appreciated it too. I mean, yeah. So, do you know the final number hours on the audio file? I'm a 1.8 guy, by the way. So I don't mean.
Are you really?
Yikes.
Oh yeah, my whole world is at 2.0. So when I listen to a book at 1.8, everything's fine. I'm like, this is great.
I think it's like a 14-hour book,
I think you numbered
right?
at 9 hours and 15 seconds at 1.8, which is
Wow.
Well, hey, I was in it for the long haul. I felt every single part of this book, which is why I'm thrilled to talk to you, in addition to just loving you guys and admiring you. But I felt every part of this book. I have launched an entire career repivot on exactly it is what you're writing about. So I'm thankful for that. And I want to just stand up because I love the darts. I stand up because I love the darts. I stand up because I love the darts. Joe, to hear you say that, and you must have said it 17 straight times in the book, or wrote it 17 straight times. It was great. I love it.
That was a truly wild experience to hear that song. Yeah.
Who suffered more writing this? That's what I want to ask. Because in my mind, I just started this show with an image. Because here's my entry into your book. And this is the image I'm going to hold up. This is the surrender Cobra of a Michigan fan, famously, from a punt that snap gets away and the punt breaks down and Michigan State wins the game.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest games. But for me, there is the universality of the surrender Cobra, right? Fan puts their hands on their head and just can't believe it. It's a sign of suffering. It's a sign of surrendering, which I think is a key word for my whole life as a fan. Not in a bad way, just surrendering, right?
Yeah.
But suffering. Who has suffered more in their sporting life? Let's start there. Joe, you can start us off.
Oh, no question. I've suffered way more. Look, I maybe there would have been an argument in 2003, that growing up in Cleveland. But even then, nobody suffered more than Cleveland fans in general. And Mike has had no suffering in like 20 years, basically. I mean, it's been a pretty good ride for those Boston guys.
Yeah, all right, Mike. But your DNA, of course, is so firmly based in a town that built its identity in suffering and now has to go completely the other way, right?
I know. It's very confusing. New Englanders aren't truly happy unless they're a little miserable. Like that's just a fact. Yeah. And it's been a very weird thing for the last 22 years now. To try to find a way to still claim that we're suffering,
don't allow it.
And we're good at it. We're like, we'll figure it out. Yeah. But like from 2004 to the present, you're talking 4 World Series, endless Super Bowls, a Stanley Cup. I'm also, by the way, a Michigan fan and a UConn basketball fan. So like every year, one of the teams I root for wins something, and but I'm still like. I work hard. I make notes. I brainstorm. I come up with ways to claim that I'm still actually in pain.
Well, let me help you with that. On this show, gentlemen, we do something called Simply Irresistible, which is, you will both know this, a Robert Palmer song, which is something I love a lot because I always loved Robert Palmer. He would go on Letterman and the band would be playing and he would fly in for one performance. The band would already start and he'd just grip the microphone and sing. What a pro. And always wore a suit. Love that. But Simply, I love irresistible things. The show is about the irresistible images for me. So now, Simply Irresistible question. As of this recording, the Boston Red Sox have had many right fielders since they've traded away your favorite player, Mookie Betts. How many have they had?
You're talking 5.5 years.
Yes, we are. I love the way you now you're thinking of how much misery in 5.5 years in right field.
That's right.
Yes.
It's been Abreu pretty consistently for like a year and a half now. So I'm going to say it's 4 years of guys. I'll say it's 18 different guys.
Very close. 22 is the answer to your Simply Irresistible.
Close,
you are among the closest in the history of this show. We have launched this. I mean, but that's very good. Okay, now for Joe, Simply Irresistible question. You are a Cleveland Browns fan.
Oh.
Since Otto Graham retired, how many starting quarterbacks have the Cleveland Browns had in this drought of titles?
Okay, so it has been, I believe, because I do keep up with this, 40 or 41 since they came back to Cleveland. Yeah.
Which is an incredible thing.
So between Otto Graham and when they came back.
You'll know, of course, one starting quarterback made it through the entire 80s, or more or less, right? Two did it from like 80 to 95.
Yeah, Bernie Kosar was more or less in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Brian Sipe and Mike Phipps were most of the 70s. But there were guys like Dave Mays.
Oh, name some guys, Joe. This is it.
Yeah.
This is.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, Dave Mays was a dentist who led the Browns to a win over the Steelers, and then I believe ended up in prison. So anyway, bad.
And you've been pulling teeth since then. Watching them, has been pulling teeth. Whatever the joke
to say the least.
Mike, you could write a better joke than that. Sorry, I will.
That was pretty good.
I'm gonna say there have been 59 quarterbacks.
So close. You guys are really dialed in. 68 is the number.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. You see, you can't resist that simply, right? I mean, when you get a question like that and you can't resist it simply. Thank you very much. Let's get to the big deal. All right, gentlemen. I came into this wanting to ask you one and only one question. What's the deal we make with ourselves to keep being fans? But I'm not asking you that just yet. This book, all right? Talk to me. What made this book now for you guys? Go ahead, Mike.
It started because I got this video sent to me by a buddy of mine that said, you got to watch this. It's hilarious. And it was the World Darts Championship in London. And it was two just stocky European guys just throwing darts at a dartboard. But behind them, what was interesting was the fans were just losing their minds. They were going crazy and dumping beer on each other and throwing stuff in the air. And then as I watched the video, I realized they were all also in costume. They were like dressed up like, you know, minions and giant tomatoes and traffic cones and like the Jamaican bobsled team. And they were, as the video unfolds, which was two guys nearly throwing a 9 darter, which is the darts equivalent of a perfect game. They just got crazier and crazier. And I realized like, these people look like true lunatics. Like they look like they've escaped from an asylum of some kind. And I also realized that like if you went back in time and had a video of me during the 2003 ALCS,
you look precisely the same.
I would look very similar to a random person, you know? And so I just was like, you know, this is the defining characteristic of my adult life and my entire life has been that I'm a sports fan. And I felt like very strongly, like there's something universal here. There's something that bonds us all together. And I just had the idea to write a book where I go around to a bunch of sporting events all over the world but write about the fan experience, not the games themselves. And as soon as I had the idea, I was like, well, I can't do this without Joe. Like because part of the whole point of this book is it's about community and about what we share with each other and how we lean on each other and how we find commonality with each other. And Joe is the other biggest sports fan I know. And I was like, oh, this will be way more fun if we do it as a joint project. So I called him up and pitched it to him and he said yes. And we were literally that day we were off and running.
And I mean, of course, this is your passion. This is a huge part of your life, but it is Joe's passion and a huge part of his life and his career. And you've covered every event under the sun. Yet, had you ever covered darts? As the dart is the entry point.
Yeah, darts were new. Darts were brand new, and very lived up to every bit of what we thought it would be. The darts. I mean, it was truly as insane as we thought it would be. I've never.
You guys saw Luke Littler in person, though, right?
You did.
You didn't tell me that he's a teenager.
Yeah, that's what they tell us. We're not buying it.
He looks like he went to college with Joe, frankly.
So I mean, I don't know. There's an expression that a sports writer once wrote. Joe, you'll remember this expression maybe, or who wrote it. It's eluding me at the moment. But Michael Jordan does what he does better than anyone else does what they do. Right? That was an expression that was said about Jordan. I don't believe that to be true. I would say Mike Emmerich, a hockey announcer, did what he did better than anyone else ever. But the answer in sports right now is Luke Littler does what he does better than anybody. No one's going to win a world's dart. Mike, you said this in the book. For the next 20 years, if you look at darts as a championship sport, I feel like they go through dynasties. And it's just like, you got it, now pass it off to somebody else. He's an incredible story.
What's so crazy is they're all incredible at throwing darts and hitting the target that they're trying to hit, right? Every one of them is incredible. It does not seem possible that one of them is better at this than all the rest of them are, because they're all like, oh, I got to hit triple 20. Here's, I'll hit triple. But he is like so clearly and vividly better. He's not, I would say he's not as good at darts as Doc Emmerich is a hockey announcer. Like, I still think that Doc has like a little bit of an edge. But it was mind blowing to watch somebody who's so good at this thing that like all of us have done in a million times in bars and whatever. And he's just like, no, I'm just better at this than any human who has ever lived.
It's incredible. And the scene, as I have seen it in the same highlight that hooked you, has hooked me, screaming, they're on nines, with the most beautiful accent you can imagine. But hearing your retelling of going to see Littler, and I'm blanking on the other dart thrower's name who does
Van
titanium,
Gerwen.
or yeah.
Yeah,
and he's waving the crowd on in a way. It is magnificent. It is fandom in such a bottled and pure form, and that's why I love this book. You found, I'm a fan, and I want to talk to you. I use this show sometime as a therapy couch. I want to unpack why I've evolved or devolved as a fan. I used to overturn furniture when the Yankees would lose, and this was even when I was in college, and they and now I'm the exact opposite way because I was doing daily sports talk for so long. My friend Mike Wilbon will scream at the third inning of a spring training game for the Cubs, and this was before they had won. I should peg it to that. I can't be that person anymore. I'll unpack my feelings maybe after we talk. What I love about Big Fan, the book, is it is playing in that universality of the fan, but also in friendship. This is the trip in book form, and I mean that as the highest compliment. The trip being the Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon movie, and they're battling each other with Michael Caine impressions, and you guys get to do that when you're picking unrivaled teams. It was one of the most fascinating things you did in the book for me. Can fandom be microwaved? Is the expression you wrote beautifully, Mike. What have you learned from how much of fandom is inherited, and how much today I decide I want to be this fan, and which is better?
Yeah, there's different routes, right? I mean, our buddy Matt Drew, who helped us a lot with the book, getting us tickets and setting us up in different places, is the world's biggest Liverpool fan, and he's also the world's biggest English men's national team fan. And he sent us a photo yesterday after England lost to Argentina, and the caption of the photo was "The cycle continues," and it was him consoling his like 5-year-old son who was wearing like a Jude Bellingham jersey and was just in tears. And it really like laid bare how most of us start, like most of us start fandom because a older sibling, a parent, someone brings us in and introduces us, and then you sort of inherit their fandom and it becomes yours. But it's not the only way. Like there's plenty of stories of people, obviously, who like, I didn't know anything about, baseball, and then I moved to St. Louis and I went to a Cardinals game, and now I'm a rabid Cardinals fan. So it's not like there's one route. I do think that there is something more lasting about fandom when it starts, like when your consciousness starts, like when you're 5 and your parent takes you to a baseball game or a football game or whatever, and it just burrows deep into your soul. That's the person who overturns furniture during a playoff game, right? But the Unrivaled experiment was us putting that to the test, because we were there was a new league, there were new teams. The teams didn't have any associations with cities or anything else. It was just like, can you learn to love something instantly, and can it last? And that was a really fascinating experiment for two people who have fandoms burrowed deep down into their souls from their youth. Right. And what's interesting about it to me is I watched the second season, or the second season of Unrivaled, and I followed it and everything. But the teams changed, the personnel changed, and there are new teams coming, and they're sort of still experimenting with the league. And I did find that it kind of shook me up a little bit, because it's so new. I didn't have the same investment that I had in the first season when we went down there and I started rooting for the Lunar Owls because of Nafisa Collier. So it's tenuous. Like it has to take hold somehow. It has to grab you somehow. And I don't know if I'm going to continue being a Lunar Owls fan long term. That league is based on players.
Really that's right. That's the interesting part for me as a sportscaster, let's just say. Because someone who appreciates connection between players and fans. They're asking you to make that's going to see what. Whereas the opposite is, we wear this laundry since you were in diapers, right? And intellectually, I think I could say now as an adult, when I make an active choice in my adulthood, I have my whole history of making choices built into this, and now I'm making the right choice. I should be proud to say I made this choice, and I actively decided to be a Lunar Owl fan, opposed to, Joe, in your case, Cleveland Browns football fan. Yeah. You had a moment right at the start of the book that hooks me and is really, it's everything. It's everything I've experienced, and I think a lot of sports fans. You asked a man at Buffalo Wild Wings, are you a Bears fan? And his answer was, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then he looked over at his kids and he's like, and I passed it on to them. Unfortunately.
I made them Bears fans. It's so funny. I'll tell you one thing though. I have seen this like in the last 3 weeks. So our older daughter has never been a sports fan, doesn't like sports, doesn't care about sports, has sort of resented the fact that her father is like a sports writer, like just never liked sports. And we went into this World Cup. She had I cannot even describe how little interest she had in it. And then she started watching, and then she got hooked, and then she fell in love with Jude Bellingham, with like every other young, woman in the world. And nobody was angrier after Argentina beat England. No, she was sending text after text about Argentina and being cheaters and they're mean and she hates them and screw Messi. I mean, it was like unbelievable. Like sounded like every radio caller, Tony, that you've ever had.
And that's the good stuff. I mean, this is why it's the single greatest thing in my life. I don't mean to say it like that, but it's in all of our lives. There's nothing like sports fandom. There's just nothing. You can attach it to other things. You just explained it perfectly. Is this your daughter who is a Star Wars fan?
This is my daughter is a Star Wars fan. Yeah.
And so I want to ask you, Joe, then compare that. How does sports fandom, as you just explained it with her, she now was filled with such vitriol and violence and all that. How does it compare to fandom in other places?
Well, it's somewhat. Mike wrote one of my favorite chapters in the book. He wrote about television fandom. Obviously, that's his world, and he understands it better than anybody. And talked about that there are similarities, of course. What I loved about the Star Wars chapter that I wrote is my daughter dressed up for May the 4th with her fiance. We went into a restaurant, and the guy who was our waiter was like truly an obsessive Star Wars fan, and he kept testing them. He kept like going deeper and deeper into the archives of Star Wars just to see if they could come along. And I think that's similar. I think all of us as like obsessive fans, if we find one of our own out there, it's like the greatest feeling in the world, right? So I think that's similar. What's different, I mean, and there are a lot of things that are different. Star Wars could never bring up that kind of rage out. Like even if she went to a movie and hated it, like they went to like she didn't love the second of the sequels, whatever. She was like really didn't like it, and the Rian Johnson one. But that did not bring out the rage in her that her like
that Lissandro Martinez did.
Like her 10-day-old, infatuation with England brought out of her. So I think sports like gets into a passion that I think is different from other
things.
But
there's another thing, which Joe identified in one of the chapters, which is like, if half the time you watched Return of the Jedi, the other team actually killed Luke, you'd be freaking out, right? And that is the part of sports fandom that we identified early on as being the kind of key element is that you're gambling your emotional happiness.
Yeah.
Now we
on
get
the outcome,
to my therapy chair.
right?
Thank
And
you very
so
much, Michael. Yes.
That's why you overturned furniture during a Yankees game. It's why after the 2003 ALCS, I lay on my friend's floor for an hour staring at the ceiling, muttering to no one, like it's never going to happen. I'm never going to see them win the World Series. You don't get that from movies and TV shows, especially when you're a fan of them and you watch them over and over again. You watch them over and over again, in fact, because you know how they're going to end. And because they make you happy the way they end in some way. So sports is that's the thing about sports is the unknowability of the outcome. And that's why you have people ripping their jerseys off and crying and you're consoling your kids. And I'm watching it now with my son, who's an enormous sports fan. And, a month into this Red Sox season, he was saying, what's my whole summer? What am I going to do this summer? I can't, this team was supposed to carry me into September and beyond. And now he texted me yesterday and said, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I miss the Red Sox. I miss, why aren't there games?
Yeah, because of the All-Star break, 2 days off, and he couldn't handle it.
That's right. That's the part of it that makes sports fandom unique to me is we are laying our souls bare. We are opening our chest cavities and presenting our hearts to a group of people who have total control over whether or not we are happy tomorrow or sad tomorrow. You'll never find that anywhere else.
What I love about you, Mike, you don't just think about it this way. You created a 3-part hypothesis. I'm always creating hypotheses, and I'm putting it up for scientific law, Talk to me about the 3-part. Life is boring. Sports gives you entertainment. I think everyone would agree with that. And then the next part, you go to...
Life is lonely. And sports provides community, which we've already talked about.
Perfect.
And then there's life is chaotic and sports provide structure. And that, like Joe wrote that part and he was saying you don't know anything. There is so much uncertain in the world right now. Yeah. We don't know anything about the next year. It feels very chaotic right now, especially it feels like, man, the difference in the world between if certain events happen or don't happen has never been bigger.
Are you serious? I can't eat produce right now. Unless I want to go on an incredible fast before beach season, right?
Yeah, well, just like we know, there are very few things we know. But one of the things we know is that there's going to be a World Series in October. There's going to be the NFL is going to start in September.
I hear you on that, but this is where the hypothesis, and Joe, if you wrote this part of it, if I have it correct, my entire thesis in life when I was learning that I am adulting and then also a man living with anxiety, general anxiety, right? Was you can't control so much in life, but you can control how you respond. Yeah. Yet still, sports has been an avenue where I had to almost push my sports fandom away completely. I'm a huge sports fan to this moment, but I'm just a different one.
Yeah.
Because I could not control how I responded in a way that I liked. Does that make sense? Fantasy would be an example of this, playing fantasy sports, but also, yeah. So you see order and control in the sports schedule. Of course, that's true. I still don't see order and control in how a game gets decided and then the next moment you get a bad beat and then the next moment I can't control my emotions.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. I don't think it provides much like
order,
cosmic calm. There's not a lot that's going on. I think it's more like I know what I'm doing this weekend. I know what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to watch this game tonight. I know I'm going to, I know that the final round of the U.S. Open is going to be British Open is going to be Sunday. I'll probably watch a little bit of that. It's a schedule maker in a way that I think nothing else is, and we just don't know what's coming. But come hell or high water, that's the Super Bowl is going to be played on the day the Super Bowl is going to be played, and the World Series is going to be played, and also it gives us it gives us a calendar of how to feel. Like when you come to an end of an NBA season and you see, hey, it's game 7, this is over tomorrow. But baseball's here and football will be here in 2 months, and there's going to be, World Cup is coming and this and this and this. And it just, there's a sense of this is going to be there for us. And yes. I think that's a pretty good thing to have in a chaotic world.
Well, I felt that way about Parks and Rec and everything you touched, Mike, as well. Can I ask you now specifically how you see sports fandom as it compares to fandom in other places?
Yeah, I mean, again, the biggest thing to me is the unknowability of it. Although, TV, when I wrote about TV in the book, one of the things that I think they sort of share in the Venn diagram overlap is, if you bond yourself to a TV show, let's say, and the TV show lasts for 6, 7, 8, 9 years, at the end of it, you feel like you have gone on a journey. You've bonded to characters. You've watched them grow and change and develop. It's not, in many ways, dissimilar from being a fan of a baseball team, following a draft pick through the minors, seeing that draft pick get to the majors, having the ups and downs that all athletes have, with very few exceptions, and then seeing them turn into an all-star, and then seeing them win a title and hoist a trophy. Like, there's a reason that homegrown players really matter to big sports fans. It's because that's your guy, that's your team, that's your you followed the journey. And in the old days, TV is very different now from when it was when I started. My first job out here was The Office. The Office lasted for 9 seasons, and they did 200 episodes. And when you get to the end of something like that, it's very emotional because you've been a part of that world. You've invited that world into your home once a week, every week for a decade. And you can't help but think about how different you are from when you started watching the show when you were 23 to now, when you're 33 and you're married and you have kids or whatever. You have gone on a trip and you have joined that group of people on their trip, and you have lived and died with their triumphs and failures. You have that in sports too, right? That is another. It meant so much to Celtics fans to win the title in 2024 because they drafted Jaylen Brown, they drafted Jason Tatum. Those guys progressed a little every year. Then they took steps back. They made the finals. They lost because Steph Curry went nuclear. They got knocked out the next year. Finally, they break through. They win the title. And then when Jaylen Brown gets traded unceremoniously for Paul George and a couple meaningless draft picks, it feels like a character on your favorite show died. Like now, you know what I mean? So, and now you got to watch a different show where that actor is playing a different character on a different show.
So can that compact? Can it be broken? Can that deal be broken between the team and the fan when they totally just blow up a team and you lose your guys? And do you go back, or can that compact be broken?
Tony, I mean, I don't know. Let's say just this is totally off the top of my head.
Hypothetical.
This is a total hypothetical. But let's say a team decides to give the largest contract in NFL history to a quarterback who is being sued for sexual harassment by 24 different people. Again, the numbers don't matter, right? It's just off the top of my head. How do you stay a fan of that team? How do you stay a fan of a team that basically says we have no moral base whatsoever, and we don't care what you think. This is our team. We're going to run it any way we want. Yeah, but here's the thing that's so tough, and this is where one of the things that Mike talked about right at the very beginning was, why do we do this to ourselves? I mean, this is
why do we willingly surrender? I mean, that's the word for me again. It gets back to surrender.
Yeah. Why do we do that to ourselves? And when you grow up in Cleveland and you are a Browns fan since you are, your earliest memory is of being a Cleveland Browns fan, and some, new dumb owner comes in and screws the whole thing up and brings in, Deshaun Watson and you're just like, okay, I can't care about this anymore. But in your memory, every Brian Sipe touchdown pass is logged in there, right? Every Ozzie Newsome great catch, every Bernie Kosar comeback, it's all there.
Yeah.
And so, I'm going to root for another team? Like, how do you even do that? And so, that was very much at the heart of this book was, why do we do this? Why is the longest relationships in our lives with these sports teams? Why? And they
go through ups and downs. Answers. But you have now experienced on the other side of that. You went from, with the Cavaliers, Comic Sans, right? You went from that moment where to just, in short order, 6-7 years later, the block and the win. So you got to see it. Knicks fans probably felt very much the same way you described for much of the 2000s, and now the high is even more than they could have imagined. They got to the top of the mountain,
that's the answer. That's the answer to the question. Yeah. Why do we do this? Because we know from watching other teams and other fans that if it ever works out, if we ever get the thing we're chasing, the feeling is going to be so indescribably great. And they, as people are fond of saying, banners fly forever, right?
Yeah.
Like I after 2004, I had this a really like significant and complete thought, which was, I'm fine forever. I don't care, because I was 30 years old. I was 29, 30 years old, and I was like, great. I lived 25 years of misery, and I can live another 50.
Now, did that turn out to be true?
More. Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
it is.
That's
okay.
the
all right.
Yeah, and like everything that's happened since then. Look, but it should be noted, by 2004, I had also had the Patriots over the Rams in 2001 too, right?
I'm gonna have to take out a mute button pretty quick to shut this down, because we know where this is going.
But all the thing that mattered, that was just a bolt from the blue. Yeah. I never thought I never dreamed that the Patriots could win a Super Bowl. It was impossible. So that was gravy. The Celtics, when I was a kid, won 3 times. Yeah. It was the Red Sox. That was it. And once they won, I was like, this is all I ever wanted. Mm-hmm. This is it. And I was fine forever. Now, look, if they hadn't won since then, if it had been 22 years of them coming close and getting beaten by the Yankees again and losing in heroic fashion to some other team, I think I'd be annoyed. I'd be angry. I might flip over a few pieces of furniture in my room from time to time, but I would have that to fall back on.
Because it's possible, though. It has to be said, there are people who lived in Boston who were born in 1920 and who passed away in 2003 and lived a beautiful, wonderful life where one thing was missing. Joe, can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
If it were to come to pass and your 125 wonderful years on this planet are landing in a place where it didn't happen for the Browns, will it be worth it?
No, I fully expect that. Like, I mean, that's exactly how. I mean, it'll be many years less than 125, but no, I fully expect the Browns to never win in my lifetime. Is it worth it? Yeah, I think the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. It is worth it, because it's like, hope counts. Like hope is like counts. A real thing, and it should also be said that if the Browns ever become a normal football team and
just don't embarrass me every day. You can lose, but don't let up a grand slam on a pitcher who hasn't pitched all season in game 1 in extra innings. Right, exactly. Just don't embarrass me. That's all I'm asking for.
If they got a quarterback I liked, and they got like a team that was likable and a coach that seemed to know what he was doing, and they didn't win it, that's different. That's just different than being just utterly and completely miserable every year. And some years are fun even when you don't win. Like, there are things that happen that are fun. When the Browns, in 2020, when Baker Mayfield led the Browns out of nowhere into the playoffs, and that was fun and definitely worth it. But I mean, look, if the Browns were this all my life, if this was every single year it was hopelessly awful, no, I don't know that it would be worth it to do that. But fortunately, no team, even what team I think about all the time is the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think about Pittsburgh Pirates fans all the time. So 1979 is the last time they won it. But it isn't just that. It's that for the last, 30, since Barry Bonds left, so 35 years or whatever it is, they've just been hopeless. It's like they go into they get good players now and again. They get a Paul Skeens, they get whatever, but they're hopeless. That's when it's really terrible. And that's when you question your sanity.
So what advice do you have for the hopeless fan?
Oh, good question. What advice do we have for the hopeless fan?
You have just traveled 82,490 miles and gone on.
You have to think of this in geologic time, right? You have to think of it not as today, tomorrow, next month. You have to think of it as there, in the same way that, the entire amount of time that humans have existed compared to the age of the earth is like, what is like a blink. That's what sports franchises have to be thought of, I think, when they're hopeless and mediocre. You have to think like, look at all of these teams.
Geology.
You have to think of all of these teams that went decades without any good management, ownership, players, everything, that were just hopeless year after year after year. And then how they eventually they come out of it. The Knicks are a perfect example.
Yeah, they really are.
The Knicks, I delighted in how bad the Knicks were. I used to live in New York. New York is my favorite city in the world. I lived there for 7 years. It's the greatest city on earth. Nothing comes close. And when the Yankees were winning constantly in the late 90s and the early 2000s, I would think to myself, at least the Knicks stink. At least they can't get anywhere. They're just hopeless. They'll never be good. And now here we are. It's 25 years later, and they're the class of the NBA. And you just have to believe, geologic time-wise, that even your mediocre, hopeless, terrible franchise with no good players, no good management, no good development, nothing, you have to believe that somehow, some way, a Theo Epstein or a whoever, Rob Pelinka or someone, Rose, one of those guys will show up and care.
The way this team came together too is one that I recognize. You know what? Something you said really resonated with me, in that you want to be the kindest person, and you are the kindest person in your universe, and that's great. But sports is allowing you to just be like, but good thing the Yankees lost this time. And it gives you a free rein to feel that very human feeling, while really not hurting somebody, but still giving you that, we got him, we got that.
It's got to go somewhere, right?
Go somewhere.
Nobody is a saint. You've got to vent your steam somewhere, and sports is a safe place to vent steam, I think.
In the book, you also went, wrestling, Taylor Swift. Wrestling is fascinating for me on a lot of levels, because everyone can appreciate it for the athleticism and the entertainment and the storytelling and that feeling I was just describing, whereas we hate the heel or we love the heel. We hate the baby face. And sports providing that place for some of your not so nice feelings. That's a part of fandom too, right?
100%. Yeah. Look, again, there is a safety in sports, which is it gives you the ability to express emotions that if you expressed them towards a coworker or a family member,
or somebody you're related to by marriage or anything.
Yeah, exactly. And wrestling was fascinating for me because I have no affinity for it. I didn't care about it. We did a thing in the book where we each sent the other one to go to a place that we knew the other one would hate. Yeah. Because it was like, to see like, okay, look, a lot of people love this. You hate it.
I love your friendship for this, though. That is this is where, again, it reminded me of The Trip with Coogan and Brian. That just, it's wonderful. I'm sorry to interrupt. Part of the interruption.
No, but so Joe sent me to WrestleMania, and I went with a friend of mine, Jen Statsky, who's a great writer who created the show Hacks with her two friends. And because she's a huge wrestling fan, and I said to her, like, I need a Sherpa here. I need someone to like stand next to me and explain to me why this is good or fun or entertaining, because I don't see it. And she said the best thing she said to me was like, you have to think of wrestling as a blend of sports and theater. Yeah. It's not just a sport. It's not just a performance. It's both things at the same time. And as soon as she framed it like that, it all made sense to me. And I found myself angrily yelling at the guy or woman that I didn't want to win, and cheering on the person I did. And that, like, these things are really important you go back as far as you want in society. You go back to the Romans, you go back anywhere, and they had contests where people could yell and scream and boo and cheer and thumbs up or thumbs down. Now, I'm glad, I think, that we don't throw the losers to the lions to be devoured. I think that's a good development in human history, but it is a part of, we want to root for things and we want to root against things, and sports is the place we do that safely. Generally speaking, if you're not a complete lunatic, you do it safely and you do it passionately, and that's a huge part of it. That is an absolutely huge part of it, is loving and hating things in equal measure.
One of the things I love about you guys is the podcast and your tape schedule on the podcast. Do we want to do one this way? put this in. Whatever. Can we get rolling? You guys do drafts. I love drafts. From a fantasy life that I used to have that I don't have anymore, I would do a draft every day on fantasy.
Sure.
And not even worry about the rest of the season. I just want to draft the team, right? That sort of thing. I want to do a draft here.
Yes.
And we'll do the snake. And Mike, you could draft first, and then Joe, you draft second. I'll draft third. I'll draft fourth. You understand what I'm getting. And I want to draft here the all-time why do I do this franchises for fans, right? All right. The book is big fan. I want to tap into the fans who are perpetually in the surrender Cobra, right? Who are perpetually, why do I do this? But keep on coming back. Of course, we know that that's what is in our heart here. So this is the draft of why do I do this franchises in all of sports. And since you've traveled the world, you can please go off the board maybe on one. I'm not. But why do I do this? Mike, I'm going to give you the first pick in round one of the why do I do this draft.
I will, I'm going to.
And please, if you don't mind, if you can approach the microphone and podium like you would a commissioner in the league.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, yes. With the, I used to love Paul Tagliabue. He always used to deliver with the first pick. He always would forget what the number was right before he got up there. It's like no one can get the out of him with the first pick.
How about, by the way, side note, how about Rob Manfred not deciding to learn the name of the likely first overall pick in the draft?
No name whatsoever. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'm going to leave the Browns for Joe, and with the first pick in the long-suffering surrender Cobra sport draft, I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions. I've never won a Super Bowl, never come close. And also there's a special thing, and in recent years have been really good, which is tantalizing and painful, extra painful that their hopes have been raised. But specifically, I'll pick the Lions because they also every year play on Thanksgiving. Their mediocrity and futility is put on display in the most famous game on the most important day of the NFL calendar. And that just seems like that's salt in the wound. So I'll pick the Lions.
Lions off the board. Joe, on the clock. Round one, pick 2.
Well, we were worried we were going to have to trade up to get our pick here. But with the second pick in the why do I do this to myself draft, we are obviously taking the Cleveland Browns. I don't even think there's any necessary explanation other than to say that, of course, the Browns have never won a Super Bowl. Browns have not won anything since 1964, and all of those things. But really, it is just the constant way that they hit their fans in the stomach. Just a constant, like for no reason. One day you'll just wake up and they're like, yeah, Myles Garrett, you liked him. Yeah, he's gone now. We don't want him around anymore. So yeah, with the second pick, we feel we got to steal with the Browns.
I'm not trying to dredge something up here, but I mean, they've won games before and taken helmets off before the play was officially over and lost the game because
I was at that game.
You were.
I was. Yeah, that was against Kansas City.
Yes.
I was at that game. The game is over. The Chiefs had some play where the quarterback fumbled. The offensive lineman picked it up and ran 40 yards because nobody cared because it was the last play of the game. And then Dwayne Rudd, I believe
it was Dwayne Rudd. You remember it well.
Just took off his helmet in the middle of the play and threw his helmet.
Every time I think about that, I just cannot believe that happened. That is so incredible.
So I was giving Chris Baldwin, the Michigan fan, credit for inventing the surrender Cobra. But it's I mean, this predates that. Joe, maybe you invented the surrender Cobra.
I might have done it. I'm writing for Kansas City, watching the team that I grew up loving just do this.
Do this to the team. Oh my goodness.
No, it's okay.
All right. So yes, I'm glad you got Cleveland. With the third pick in the first round of the Why Do I Do This Surrender Cobra draft, I select the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, good call.
And I do this because they're good and they're fun. And their fans are the best. And Browns fans are great. But their fans are the best. And the Bills Mafia is great. And this isn't even Norwood. I mean, that guy gave it a good kick. I mean, he was wide right. That happens. This is the Music City Miracle. Yep. And this is 13 seconds with Patrick Mahomes. That's the why do I do this, right? Yep. I mean, you can lose a game on a kick. Understandable. You can't lose a game that you just had the greatest postseason game ever, and you slew the Hydra, Patrick Mahomes, and there's 13 seconds left. So I take the Buffalo Bills.
Although I will argue, it's a great pick. It's the right pick. I think the first three have to be NFL teams anyway. It's a great pick.
Yeah.
I will make the argument. This is a Cleveland argument as well. Why do you do this? Have you been in Buffalo in the winter? I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, like that's just you got to stay. You're either got to stay home or you got to be with friends.
I feel the Buffalo Bills fans are really the best.
They're the best.
Yeah,
I think they're the best fans in sports.
That's a different draft. Second pick, my first pick of the second round with the first pick of the New York baseball Mets are. Ooh. Why do I do this? And
that's going to be my pick.
Current off the board. Current history. Okay, they fired a manager, which was a long time coming. And while they're firing the manager, and the report is coming out in a very stern and serious news hit, Mr. Met is in the background dancing.
Incredible.
I mean, as a Mets fan, why do I do this? You know, I mean, I have so many people in my life that I love that are Mets fans. Why do I do this? I take the New York Mets off the board. Joe, goes back to you.
It's a great pick. Although I will argue that unbelievable Mr. Met dancing behind the guy giving the report, that's why you do it. I mean, I like if I'm a Mets fan, that's the best day of my year.
You know what? I'll give you points for that. You win today's FaceTime. All right, go ahead.
All right, with the second pick in the second round of the Why Do We Do This to Ourselves, I'm going to go way off the board just because it's so much on my mind. And I'm going to take England football as my pick.
Great pick.
And here's the main reason why. I mean, we're coming off of the Argentina fiasco. Literally, it's just happened. But here's what I think about from that game. There's a million things to think about them screwing it up and everything else. When Argentina scored the tying goal, there was still 10 minutes left in the game, 8 minutes left in the game, or whatever it was. When they scored the tying goal, they showed England fans, and every one of them had that look on their face, which was like, "Oh wow, this is over." It
was a pre-surrender Cobra. They hadn't even lost yet, but they knew that what was going to happen.
And Mike is an England fan, so he felt all of those things. But I think we all did. We all just like, oh, I mean, so this is how it happens in real time, where you watch. You know, when I saw the Browns, when I saw John Elway go on the drive, like. There was a part of me at that point, I was young enough, there was a part of me that thought they might stop him. There is a chance. Like, I wouldn't feel that now. Like, there's no way I'd feel that now. But back then, I kind of like, there's a chance that it's 98 yards. That's a long way to go. Not one England fan thought there was even the chance they were going to win that game after the goal.
Okay. England is off the board. The entire country. And now, Mike, with your second pick.
All right. I got two. So the first pick I'll make is the Cleveland Guardians. One of the longest, I think the longest drought now.
Now it's the longest, 48.
Now it's the longest drought. Yep. Also, key element of this, tantalizingly close on more than one occasion. Like multiple highlights that the fans can see in their heads of walk-off hits in game sevens, two game sevens of the World Series. And also, the key thing is the last time it happened, the team they lost to was a team that itself had the longest drought in baseball, right? So it's like, we can't even beat those guys. We can't beat the Cubs. And also, again, good team. Good in it every year, like playoff team every year, and then they get to the playoffs and they play the Yankees, and it's like, oh yeah, right, Jose Ramirez is not enough to beat the Yankees. So I'll pick them, and then for the first pick in the third round, I'm gonna go a little off the board and pick a team, unlike the Guardians, a team that is just never anything, and that is my beloved Sacramento Kings. I root very hard for the Sacramento Kings because they're so hapless, and they play in a city that does not probably deserve to have an NBA team, really, except for one thing, which is that the fans of the Sacramento Kings are incredible. It is one of the best NBA fan bases. That team is miserable year after year. The fans pack that arena.
It's a one-sport town.
They come up with Light the Beam, and the fans are losing their minds when the beam is lit. they had a brief moment with De'Aaron Fox and Keegan Murray and Domantas Sabonis where it was like, wait a second, we might be good. They got to the first round. They had to play the Warriors. They took them to 7. They lost, and then the whole team just completely fell apart. And now it's like, well, now there's also inexplicable trades, just absolutely inexplicable roster moves everywhere. Vlade Divac said that he didn't draft Luka Doncic because he wasn't a Sacramento kind of guy. And it's like, what do you, the best all around offensive player this side of Nikola Jokic isn't right for your team?
That begs the question, who is the Sacramento type of guy in Vlade Divac's mind, right? I mean,
it's a great question. So I pull for them. Yes. I desperately want that city to win. That's my third
Joe,
pick.
give me your third pick. We'll make this the last round because we're gonna go head to head to see who's gonna win this.
All right. Well, with my third pick, with the second pick in the third round, I am selecting the San Diego Padres. And there's something special about the Padres suffering. First of all, nobody cares outside of San Diego. like as a Clevelander, like I feel the sort of like support from people out there. They're like, it would be great if Cleveland. Nobody cares because everybody's like, you live in San Diego, you're doing fine, you're going to be okay. We have a really good friend, Justin Halpern, who is a huge Padres fan, and it's almost jolting to me to see like his suffering on display. It's like, you feel the same things we feel. Like, you're a Padres fan. You never think about them ever. But like Padres fans like hate the Dodgers and are so angry at the world. They've never won a World Series. They've never won a World Series game. They've been to one World Series and just got absolutely smoked. They've had great players, but have just never like pulled it off. And that's a why do I do
it's very funny to make the World Series once in your history, and the team you have to play is the 1998 New York Yankees, like the greatest team ever assembled.
I was looking for something while you were talking, listening to every word you said, because I was just reminded of a little bubble up run they had to get to the playoffs a few years ago, and we got to meet the Padres fan. Do you remember the song that Padres fans were singing to unite the entire community? Let's see. I'll play it for you right now.
Yellow and brown. That's what's in.
That's what's in.
Padres on the loose. Let's go, Goose. That's what's in.
I mean, I don't.
Bryce's gonna lose, and Manny's gonna cruise. That's what's in.
That's what's in. So yeah, I just remember this. That is the face of the Daddies, the Padres. And you know, we've your book talked about how songs are so important to so many sports. That's what the Padres have. That's what's in. I think.
That's it. Yeah. That's what's in.
Yeah, that's what's in. It's now in our draft. My last pick of our 3-round draft here will be a team similarly known for lacking hapless Los Angeles Clippers.
Ooh,
and it comes down to, I've selected 2 teams that are in a town with a big brother of a team. Yep. And I've always been in awe of Clippers fans and the fandom. Why do I do this? I think there's a great bone in the body to say everybody likes them and it's easy to like them. I'm gonna like the other team,
Mm-hmm.
But if I ever got Billy Crystal in a room, I would really look him in the eye like, what was the play here when you became a Clippers fan over a Lakers fan?
Great question.
What were you going for there? Was it similar, in any way to, whatever. So that's, I take the Los Angeles Clippers. So my team, Mike, we have Lions, Guardians, and Kings.
Good
Joe,
picks.
You have the Browns, England Soccer, and the Padres.
Very
and
strong.
I have the Bills, the Mets, and the Clippers. And we're going to put this out there for the people to vote on to see which team.
Let me say 2 things.
Yes.
One is about your picks. The Clippers and the Mets also have an extra added bonus, which is their owners are lunatics with trillions of dollars.
Yes,
and they still
Very
can't
true.
win somehow, which is great. But also, I would say there's a thing in the book where we just send an email to a bunch of our friends and said, hey, we're writing this book. Tell us something you love that you're a fan of and why.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of great responses. But one of my favorites was my friend Phil, who's a huge Clippers fan. wrote back and said, "I am a fan of the Clippers because I can't relate to winners."
Yeah, well, I mean, that is a great prompt. We'll put that out there as well as we examine the draft of Mike, Joe, and myself, and then you go pick up Big Fan and read it and send your notes their way as well for the teams and the fans they should follow for Big Fan too. The trip went on multiple trips. You guys can now go to multiple places. 82,490 miles they traveled. I traveled decidedly less to get to the gift. We give gifts on this show. This is very early on. You may know my phone case is Ray Liotta. I love Ray Liotta, rest his soul. This makes me happy whenever I, which way do I have to look? Whenever I look at this. So that is our show gift to people. And you will find yourself receiving in the very near future, well, Joe, this is you, our Surrender Cobra phone case. Yes,
excellent.
And it will be similar for you. Yes, Mike, our Surrender Cobra phone case of Mike finding himself.
And I'm wearing a Michigan jersey.
And you're already there.
Perfect.
I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you for putting your friendship out there like you did, because that's just a fun read in its own. I want to thank you for unlocking many of the mysteries of fandom many of the questions I've asked myself. Why do we do this? And why do we surrender all of a reason in our lives? And it's a wonderful thing to surrender reason in our lives. So thank you very much, Mike. Thank you very much, Joe. All right, guys, you guys can clap it up there. It is our
thank you. Yeah,
Big Fan available wherever you get books or audio books, which I did. And you can see, I mean, I wouldn't dare ask anyone to listen at 1.9. But 1.0 is beautiful depth to their voices. Big Fan now available everywhere. There we go again. The only reason why I have a show is to make new friends. Oh man, those guys are great. Oh, that was so good. Please get in the mentions, hit us up. Let's see who won the draft here of the Why Do I Do It Surrender Cobra fans. But that was a good one, and now I'm gonna go for a walk. See you guys later. Thank you. Fandom enlists you to volunteer for disappointment. We know this, right? To hand your emotional well-being over to those people wearing laundry that you wore when you were a kid. I don't know how else to explain it. That sounds completely absurd, but I would argue it is the most absurd thing we do. It's the most human thing we do. Happiest moments of my life all mattered to me because I knew the opposite was in play, right? Something not great could happen, and that sports shows us that from the start. For our Michigan fan, I'll bet the Surrender Cobra made the championship years later feel better, fuller. The joy wasn't just winning, it was surviving what came before. I love what the guy said. Mike said this specifically in the book, wondering whether his life would be better if he was just a fan of sports in general and not just one team, right? Like, go sports. But he compared it to love. And if you never fallen in love before, yes, you'd have fewer days of grief and heartbreak and disappointment, but you'd also have fewer days of the greatest feeling in life. That's fandom to me. The very thing that opens you up to heartbreak really can make the unforgettable moments even better. That's surrendering, right? That's the deal we make as sports fans. Not that we'll always be happy, but that we'll get to feel something, a full feeling. So the way I'm thinking about it now is the surrender didn't happen when you put your hands on your head. It happened the day you became a fan. And that's a real 1 minute. That's not even close to a minute. See you later. Bye, Nora.